Arrancamos un nuevo día
We're
de
starting a
estas
new day
experiencias
in
circulares
these
que nos
circular
vienen a
experiences
unir en esto que nos interesa de
got
la
us
economía
together, brought us
circular,
together
pero
in
también
this
de conocer
circular economy
actores,
topic that it's very
organizaciones,
so interesting for
empresas,
us.
nuevos
We get to know new
proyectos que nos hacen conocer
organizations,
universos
companies
dentro de
and
esto que nos
projects
une.
that
Hoy vamos
allow
a
us to
hablar,
get to know
entre otras
universes in
cosas,
this
de
topic that
construcción
brings us together.
circular. Y
Now
quien
today
es
we're going to
el
talk
moderador
about
invitado es
circular
Diego
construction.
Tabachnik,
And our
periodista de la ONU
moderator
Interior.
is
Muchas
Diego
gracias, Mili.
Tabachnik,
Bienvenidos a
journalist.
todos y todas. La
Hello,
economía
thank you.
circular
Welcome
está
everyone.
íntimamente ligada a
This
criterios de
is
sostenibilidad
circular
y nuestros
economy is
invitados se encargan de
very linked
aplicarla
with
en el
sustainability,
ámbito de
and
la
our guests
construcción. Tengo el
apply
gusto de presentar
sustainability
a
in
Juan
the
José
construction
Blangino,
environment.
director de
It's
Mosaicos
my
Blangino,
pleasure
al
to
arquitecto
introduce
Sergio Carrasco
Juan
de
José Blangino
Ecocer,
from Mosaicos
a
Blangino,
Lucas
Sergio
Recalde,
Carrasco
director de
from
13
Ecocer,
Construcciones, y de
Lucas
forma
Recalde
virtual
from
nos acompaña
13
David Babisenko,
13
titular también de Ecoplástico.
and David
Vamos a ver
Babisenko
entonces el
from
primer video de
Ecocer,
nuestros
who's going to
invitados.
join us remotely. Let's see the first video from our guests.
Muy bien.
Okay.
Bueno, Juan José,
Great. Juan
ahí,
José.
eso, nos sacamos el barbijo para poder
Now,
hablar, pero
it's great that
respetando
you
los
take off
protocolos.
your mask so that you
Veíamos
are
algo,
able to
¿no?
talk.
El
We
video
are
nos daba
respecting the
pistas.
protocols. We're looking
¿De
at the
qué manera,
video.
Mosaicos Blangino
It tells us a
empezó
little
a
bit,
trabajar
and I want to ask you,
economía circular con
how
aquí
did
trajiste
Blangino start to
justamente un
work in the
ejemplar.
circular economy?
Algo se veía ahí con vidrio.
We've seen a little
Comentanos
bit
cómo
about
fue
the
el
glass
proceso
there.
de este
Can you
producto
tell us a
actual
little
que
bit about the process that you've recently started selling products? Yes, first of all, I'm very happy to be here today, participating in this circular economy summit, and I want to be able to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing since 2020, already in the pandemic, and this was after our visit to the city of La Para, which is a pioneer in circular economy and recycling, and we were visiting a highlight of these types of technologies, and they were already working with the system made by 3C, and There, the mayor, Martin Guzman, told us, hey, do you want to add some floors? We could check out some of the floors that could look good for the school. And then we started talking, and then we said, what happens if we do this with glass bottles? And this bottle was over for 240 square meters that we placed in the first experience, and all of the glass that was used, it was over 1,200 kilos of glass that was recycled at the city of La Para, where they cleaned the material themselves, they grounded the material themselves, and once it was done, we transformed it into floors, which is what we see today. And the social impact of this product is huge, and it generates a virtuous cycle, right? Yes, definitely. Because after we did this first project, we had the idea of combining this with actions of social responsibility that we carry out in the company, which is related with requests that we get from NGOs, from associations, from sports clubs, that they need some help, some company for some support for some kind of project, and we decided to go the extra mile with this idea of the sustainable floors, and we said, what happens if we sign an agreement where the association, the NGO, the foundation collects the glass that is needed to manufacture their flows. So, based on an equivalence table, we give them after we get that amount of glass that they need to supply to us cleanly, without any kind of labels, no plastics, no cork, no not anything but glass. Once we have the amount that equates to the number of meters for the floor, we give back that work and those materials that they gave us in the shape of a floor. We don't work with money there, but we actually return the material that they gave us. So with your own work and with your own effort, I assume that guided also by given by you, the way that you need, we know that you need to perform the work, but these places get their floors through their own effort, right? Yes. Something that's very interesting here is that in order to get the glass, they also need to coordinate with society stakeholders, community actors, with the public sector, because many cities, many towns are doing the sorted collection, and many of them don't know where to place certain materials, for example, like glass. Glass is one of the most difficult materials to place in the market, so the institution can coordinate with different the recycling people to be able to do the cleaning part and give it to our company in the state that we need it, and also to coordinate with the community around them to ask their neighbors to bring those bottles, the community. So this generates other opportunities because you start getting to know about this possibility of creating a new opportunity for neighbors, and this is an action that we proposed from the company. And in this road of circular economy, we start discovering other companies that are working similarly, and that we can start annexing some with some agreements. We can add other agreements with other companies to have other types of agreements for these institutions, that they could collect glass, they could collect paper, plastic, all kinds of materials that they can use, because this is not garbage. These are materials, resources. You've been leading your company for the past few years, and there's a part of the province associates the name of the company to a certain to a certain city, and since you're younger, when was the time that something clicked on your head that we need to go through this path in this concept of the circular economy? Well, definitely, there's always a moment that hits you, that clicks in your head. And for us about the glass, I always remember one of the trips that that I did with my dad to Europe, seeing some processes, some machines in different companies. And I remember I was 10, 12 years old, and I don't remember exactly, but I already saw a type of floor that was manufactured with glass, and we're talking about 20 years ago. So they were starting to work with these kinds of things already in Europe, but we didn't go deeper there. So we needed, probably that it wasn't the right moment, but and on another hand, we had some issues with one of the waste that we had, the scrap, is that after we polish the floors, we lose about 2 millimeters of material, and that's polished using water, and that creates some the type of mud. And we had no issue at that point because we used it as filling, but from then on we started thinking, what else can we do? What else can we recover? So at that point, the company went into this idea of retrieving, recovering some waste. So this is why through the company called Holcim, a cement company, we were able to dry our waste, this kind of paste, and we use it again to manufacture cement. So another one of the processes that we had as a company, we were able to reconvert it and be a part again of this circular economy. So we had this part of the floors related to the trips, and this other part of changing the mind of the company at that certain point, and we knew that it has to be this way now. And speaking about trips, I want to ask you, because you're a person who is very concerned with the industry, how far are we from this type of practices and recycling in other parts of the world? I think that over the last few years, we're talking about, or last few months, maybe a year, yeah, maybe a year or 2 years, we have accelerated the process a lot. Talking about this 5 years ago or 10 years ago, when the company said it, when we were working with the company, you would not hear these kinds of initiatives in construction about reusing materials or doing an internal revision of what were we doing with our waste. And now I hear it almost from almost everyone. From almost everyone who's working with this, they're checking out, they're looking and seeing what is it that they're going to do with their waste. So I think that we're moving forward a lot. I know that elsewhere this process has been taking on for several years, but here we've had an acceleration recently that, uh, which is different from other issues and other matters. We see that there's a new chip there in the processing power that in new generations already have this incorporated. If we talk about this with children, and it's absolutely clear for them. So this is going to make this idea to accelerate even further. And from the point of view of maybe specialists, or from you that you work here and they tell you, give me this floor because my grandfather has the same thing. How do you talk about this with the consumers? From our side, uh, the material ends up having a very interesting aesthetics, and it's very valued the way that it looks with these new materials that we are adding. So we've had the fortune that when people look at the floor, they say, I want this for my house. And there are other products that maybe you need to take another look from the concept. But in this case, what we see is that the product has been very appealing. It looks great. It has a renewed sparkle, and it has done like a refresh of the product. And we see that we see this with very good perspectives. We believe that this can work commercially very well, and we're working a lot with agreements and with different actions with the public sector. But I have a very good perception of what's going on at a commercial level, and of course we are already getting into this logic, and also the consumers are also trying to incorporate ideas of sustainability in production of the goods that they consume. And we were discussing this with the rest of the panel, and the clients are starting to apply certain concepts in construction, solar power, retrieval of water, of sewage, and different issues that are going to come forward that it's going to be inserted into the consideration of the clients, because this gives an added value to the construction and to the development of a new company. And from the business point of view, how important is the private-public partnerships for these types of ideas and this type of work? It's fundamental, because from the public sector you have several policies that are being driven, and they show us a little bit how things can be done. So when the public sector understands that this is the way to go, and they start applying the concepts, it starts being like a benchmark for the rest of the community. We expect the example from the state. If the state doesn't do it, why would a private entity do it? So it's fundamental that the state, the three levels, national, municipal, provincial, needs to consider all of these matters, because they need to set an example. And from that example, they can also start demanding that the construction and everything, similar things, are done with this concept, and taking also this into the different levels, the educational level, the waste sorting and household waste sorting. And this is why it's so important that the public sector starts showing and starts powering and starts supporting all these kinds of initiatives. And sometimes companies need that push, they need that support, this initial support, until they start moving and that the wheel starts turning. So once it's like a plane, once it started taxiing and then it rises and it lifts off, then that's like the power of the public sector for the companies. I would also like to ask you, mid-term and long-term, what do you see in your company in relation to this product? Where are you looking at industrially and personally in Blangino? We're working a lot today with water liners for the interior and the inside and the outside of the homes and construction. We're also working a lot with tiles for streets, about streets and roads, of course. And we're also doing some tests with using rests of construction, construction waste, also glass. And we understand that that's where the market is going. Many of the cities or the small towns are choosing these road tiles. So we have an eye there, and we have a lot to give there in that area. There's a lot of investment in many other companies as well, and we think that these sustainability concepts can be applied to these products. And we should also add that these are products that have a very long lifespan. That sets them apart from other issues in other solutions in the market. So when we want to manufacture products that last a lifetime, this is also related with sustainability, because we are in a world where program obsolescence is an engine for the economy. Thinking about products with long durability, that's also part of breaking with this paradigm of the obsolescence and the indiscriminate use of resources. So I believe that this is where the industry is going, and we are definitely willing to go through this road. Thank you very much, Jose. Thank you, Diego, and thanks for this invitation.
Now we're going to see the video of our next guest. Hello, I am Sergio Carrasco. We are in Potrero de Garay, Córdoba, Argentina, representing Ecoplastic RFB. This initiative was born because we visualized the need of the sewage system in all the Patagonia due to the contamination of all the different sites. So the company started with the system Biogas Plus. It is a treating facility, an ecological one that tries to solve the problem of the lack of sewage systems in the homes and to avoid the environmental pollution of rivers, underwaters, And we also want to take advantage of the land, not using a lot of territory, and taking advantage of the sewage system we had before. Here in Argentina, we use different systems that take up a lot of space. We try to minimize that. Biogas Plus works through the injection of air. A forced oxidation is 100% aerobic, and we do all of the sewage part of the house, even of the toilet paper. It has 4 layers of treatment. In the first one, we have the gray waters. In the second one, we have organic liquids, even toilet paper. And in those first layers, we have an injection of air through aerators and sprinklers that work with very low energy. And the third stage, we have a decanter where we have the solid waste that is created by the system. And the third one, we have a tank, and it has incorporated a pump that has a dripping system and recovers 100% of waste, sewage waste. We recently launched a new product that is the Eco Orchard. There is a capsule of fiberglass that is also an area to grow up vegetables. We have to connect the hose to the Eco Orchard, and we have an automatic sprinkler system for those vegetables. We have also cleaning products that are biodegradable. One of our priorities in these systems of Biogas Plus, we need to avoid the contamination of groundwater, and which is a problem that we have here in Potrero de Garay and the hills and the Molinos Dam. We installed the facility here to boost the preservation and taking care of the environment with this system. We want that to raise awareness, not to contaminate the groundwaters in a lot of these areas where we do not have drinking water networks, and we do drilling for the consumption of groundwater. So this is very important. And we are also taking care of the health of people, and we want to provide them a better quality of life for all of the families with the system. This is our vision, and trying to innovate constantly. We are always trying to create new products, new accessories, improving our systems to provide the best quality possible of the service and the best life quality for all of these families. Sergio, first of all, I would like to congratulate you for the work. Maybe you can take off your mask so that we can talk. We have all the protocols installed. I don't know if David is here with us. David Babisenko, also manager and founder of Ecoplastic. And I'm going to start here. We can see you. How are you, David? Hello, everyone. Now that I have you here, we'll start with you. You are the founder of this idea that creates a revolution. It's very surprising. How did you come up with the idea, and how did you put it into practice? Well, thank you very much. Now we have to go back in time. I was born in Comodoro Rivadavia, in a city where we had 80,000 inhabitants. Due to the pollution, and the sewage system were contained in a way. This is an oil area in 2002 to 2003, where we had a devaluation in our country. $1, 1 peso, parity. We had an oil boom, and a lot of people started coming here to Comodoro, so the wages were very tempting, and that attracted a lot of families to come and live here. That produced an exponential demographic growth, and the municipality could not go together as regards the sewage systems that we had and the drinking water systems. So in 2006, I go to live to a neighborhood that was new in the area called Bella Vista Azul, and it did not have a proper sewage system, and we had some gauge system for the water that you used. So here we also had a soil that is very arid. It is very difficult to have treated water in this area. We have wells, and there all the effluents go there, and the soil does not absorb that. So it enters into contact with humidity. It expands in volume, and what it creates is a risk for the constructions, because if they are expanded, they can move the foundations of the houses. So when we saw these issues from 2006, when I started living here, I had to be a customer, let's say. I had to purchase an equipment, and I wanted to stop with the pollution of the groundwater. We have coasts that are beautiful, but they are contaminated with groundwater, with sewage water. So we needed to stop with that pollution in the entire coasts and the soils that we have, in all of the water bodies. And since the water that we had was measured, we wanted to create a new opportunity for us. So we created the treating facility that is useful for all of the sewage systems of the households, and even toilet paper, they go to the same tank. And what we do is treat all of the effluents, 100% of the drainage coming from the house. It goes to a specific tank, and it automatically activates a dripping pump. And this is very important, because in this way we are reusing 100% of the water that we used in our house. We save up a lot of drinking water, and we can use it for irrigation, for example. The families use 1,000 to 1.5 thousand liters of water, and it is very expensive having drinking water here in this region. So in this way, we could save up a lot of the drinking water, and that was a significant aspect. That also takes us to an energy saving for the city, because they do not have to distribute the same amount of water. If we multiply that by each house that has this system, we can save up a lot of liters of water per day. So this also takes us to saving in energy, not only in drinking water. And these are 1,500 liters of liquids and effluents that are no longer wasted. So we stop with the pollution of groundwater, and we also save up on water and energy. We also thought of a product being an ecologic product. It is built of durable material. The lifespan goes to over 50 years. So I truly believe it's a definite investment. It is not an impact, for example, such as a conventional well. A company, the person had to invest in a well, and maybe it could last 1 to 5 or 10 years, and then they have to dig up new wells, and that has some additional costs to solve this problematic, because they do not have a proper sewage water system. And we also solve the problem of pollution and using up more water. Basically, that will be the idea, our idea for the creation of biogas plast. So we wanted to stop with the contamination of effluents. We wanted to save up on drinking water and on energy. Sergio, I want to ask you now, because I've seen that you have continued to develop a lot of products. I imagine that you have a sort of a lab. In my imagination, I see you there in the lab trying new things. What is the reality? Is that the case? You mentioned also about the orchard. Yes, we are constantly innovating and trying to create through this system, as we mentioned before, the ecological orchard. It's a supplement, let's say. We have also tanks collecting rainwater in the entire area where we are here in Cordoba, on the hills. There are a lot of places of water stress, and water does not come here. These are collecting tanks that have filters of leaves, that also has a pump that we can make it send water to the reservoir. So we are constantly thinking about improving the system of biogas plast, the design, the use, for us to have a more convenient use as well, and also for the families and for a simpler installation, as David said. The lifespan of this product, this is something for life. This is an investment you make for life. If we think about the investment you have to do for this equipment, if we take it if we consider the lifespan, talking in money, you're not investing over 9 pesos per hour for an essential service that you have. That was per day. What is the reaction of people? Because sometimes we have the old school of traditional construction that is changing, but we need to adapt a lot. So how did you see the receptiveness of the audience? First of all, it is very positive, the response that we get. I'm very interested, the interest of the young people. Some weeks ago, a young person, Ignacio Castro, presented a work for university, a thesis project, and that also shows it was about the treatment of sewage water and being able to reuse water for irrigation. And that made me really happy, because that means that there are a lot of young people behind this, of being sustainable, who are connected with the environment, and to trying to reuse everything that we can, also as regards waste. And what about the conservative people? Well, that is changing a lot. We have some places here in Comodoro that have a proper sewage system, and even without placing this system. Why? Because they want to reuse water for irrigation, and maybe they have some sewage system, but they do not have a treatment system for the effluents, and that goes directly into the sea. So in that way, what we do is to stop with the pollution. The idea of GES Plus is attacking the problem from the beginning, from the house. Sometimes we deviate a little in doing an equipment involving the entire city, and we try to solve the problem from the origin, from the source, from the house where we have the effluent. So in that way, we can go together with the demographic growth, and sometimes municipalities cannot keep up due to investment problems, for example. And then we have to do the maintenance of the entire infrastructure of water treatment. It is very expensive. So in this way, what we do is each person be responsible for their own waste. That is very important, and that is what we say. Not expecting the state to do everything. This has to start from each person. And this is what we are seeing now, and we want to make people to understand that they can do something from their own homes. And also about the household sorting of waste and accompanying the sustainability perspective to take care of the environment. Well, David, Sergio, thank you very much, and congratulations for your work. Okay, perfect, David. Now let's go with the video of the next guest, please. Three C is a development company of environmental and social infrastructures. We recover plastics and water, and without the use of that much water, we transform that through an industrial process to construct buildings, to construct houses. It is an industrial process that does not take up a lot of water and almost no energy either. Due to the insulation, it does not take up a lot of energy either. The main benefit, environmental benefit, is that plastic that cannot be recycled do not end up on the landfills. The technology was developed for people with social problematics to be able to participate in these projects. We needed a project where children and young people could do, not for them to adapt the technology, but the technology had to be adapted to this young generation. At the beginning, we did not know anything about these houses that are made out with plastic, and we learned here. We came here and we started working on this. The process is very simple. It creates a lot of happiness because they know that they are producing and they feel useful to the society that sometimes excludes them. We've never seen waste. We could never see waste or garbage. Not the environmental one, not the social one. We saw possibilities. And going from this perspective, you can find the solutions. Being optimistic, we came here to find solutions. Lucas, well, this was a great video, an amazing one. Tell me a little bit of the start of this project, of this miracle project, I would say. Well, it is not a miracle. It has to do with trying and doing, and this is what we entrepreneurs have. That has to do with trying to find solutions that are required. This is what we do. Maybe we start from a place where we understood that it is not a work that you can do alone. We don't have to be alone in isolation. Sometimes in this society that we are participating now, this world event, being isolated is how we were trained to work, to compete, and not to collaborate. This technology was thought we have achieved a production technology, but from a different perspective, from collaboration, from another type of transaction or operation. We have a social science now, and talking about economy through a spreadsheet, only intending to think about the cash flow, is because we did not understand the complexity of this science, the complexity of society. So what we are proposing here is to have these short-term transactions, the ones that we do every day, of purchasing, buying things, of acquiring a product. We're not thinking about the long term. So when we start thinking about that. Even if we are doing these short-term transactions, we need to think in the long run, and that changes the way in which we do this transaction. It changes in how we connect with each other, and that allows us to think in a different way in how we connect with the state, with the government, with universities, with the other business people or entrepreneurs. If you say, okay, I'm going to purchase this and then I leave, it only happened that act. If I know that I'm going to connect in the long term, this is what happened with local business people. When we connect, we start thinking together, and we find in our journeys once and once again, and we start finding solutions not only for business people or entrepreneurs, but for everyone. And we start being part of a community and a society from a different perspective of citizenship, and we start being political entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, and civic entrepreneurs. And we need to understand that being a good citizen has to be related to how we connect with the society and what we offer to the society and how we behave. Today we live in a society where we talk about garbage because we are not responsible for the own waste that we produce. Garbage does not exist, and thinking that there are some people that are useless is because we're thinking in the same way of the programmed obsolescence. We think about this and we take that even to think that people are useless, and this is a crazy idea. So talking about economy is talking about complexity, and understanding that the solutions have to be complex as well. Sometimes we think that everything has to be simple, and sometimes complexity does not require something being difficult. We have to understand that we need to work with the other. We need to understand that these transactions in the long term, or these long-term plans, the government cannot think it in the same way that you can, because they have shorter cycles. Universities do not have the same perspective. So when you start thinking about this way, in this complex way, and with the complexity of the processes, maybe we can find their solutions to complex problems. And this is what we try to do from the 13 constructions. Yes, in the video, it was very clear that you place the role of the individual and the environment at the core of the system. I'm asking you, because we listened to a very great testimony in the video, and in the case of young people who were involved in the project, how you get to them, or what is the experience, the change that undergo in their lives, being part of a chain in which they are acknowledged. Yes, the process is beautiful, and this has to do with the fact that 3C is not a construction system, but a social and production system. What you can do is this, the practical part, the material part, and we work a lot on the other things that you cannot touch, and this has to do with the partnerships, associations. These stations are placed in vulnerable communities, and sometimes it is very difficult for them to have economic resource or have activities to create employment. So this also has to do with how the production technology was developed with respect to the territory. We did not have water or light in the places where we wanted to work, and that may be a very important cause not to install the technology there. So technology was thought to be implemented by these organizations. And this is where we start having different transactions. Because I cannot say, okay, you come here, tomorrow I will buy you something, and then I leave. Because these organizations are working with other problematics as well. And we start having these complex systems that are wonderful, that have to do with education, with support, and we need to help the others, so we offer value. And this is how we try to interpret this complexity of the economy. Not only a matter of money and short transaction, but also, first of all, creating value and different types of value. social value, environmental value, educational value, partnerships with universities, political value, because politics have to do with where the world goes and the importance of politics. So they are a key stakeholder in this process because they are the ones that are saying, with these laws, with these standards, we decide where we're going as a society. And this is the proposal. If we do not create a political value, if we do not create a social value and environmental value, which type of entrepreneurs are we? And this has to do with the click that we need to do in our minds, because we are linked, the business people, with the economy and entrepreneurs, and the economy is for everyone. We saw a time lapse of the video, the magic way in which you assemble a house. Tell me about the examples, how many houses you have, how do people live who are in these types of houses. It is very interesting. Maybe you live it with a great passion that you can share, but sometimes we cannot imagine how you can do that. The houses, as for the aesthetics, are the same as the conventional ones because the covers are the same, but plastics have different characteristics. And the plastics, after the consumption of food, they undergo a process where we check they were not contaminated. And as they hold food before, we know that they will not create contamination being in a wall, for example. And we did all the proper tests that have to do that are related with fires and all of that, because you need to take that into account because that will make up the house. We did all of those trials and tests at INTI thanks to a partnership with a university, and the results were great. But as regards how we can inhabit these houses, these materials that were supposed to be waste or garbage have amazing characteristics that are non-degradable. They have no capillarity and they are not conducers. So what does it mean? Properties. If we throw these products away, it is awful for the environment. And let's imagine that within a wall. We have isolation. No capillarity provides not having water problems if we have a leaking. They are very light and super resistant. We can have bricks of 14 kilos and we can build a house in a very short term without being a very crafty work. And for the worker, the process is simpler, apart from the logistic of moving the materials. And what about the reaction of people? They were extremely happy. They were very, very, very pleased with our houses, and we are seeing that these values that have to do with the social and environmental aspects is something that is demanded by the public, by the consumers. The market needs and demands entrepreneurs to invest on this. And then we have the challenge of providing competitive solutions and durable solutions as entrepreneurs. We understand that working with these materials has a different process. The plastic is not biodegradable. We are working with a material that lasts 1,000 years. It is very sad if it is thrown away as garbage, but if we use it for a house, we're thinking not only of one generation, but several generations, and so that we can also retrieve and recover the waste and not to lose the properties. We are a very young company, but we are seeing that these values, when you have a competitive project to the market, it is adapted very easily. And today, we need these solutions. All of those solutions, they are demanded by our society, and we need to understand the position we need to have all of the stakeholders of the society as regards these problematics that we have. The magic of having a product thrown away and not being our problem has to be changed. We need to be part of this change from consumption and from the proposals of business people and entrepreneurs. And we are seeing a lot of cases related to this. Congratulations, Lucas. Thank you very much. And I would like to ask the three of you to close this panel. as regards the good practices, and maybe the audience can feel inspired by this. Which advice or tips can you provide to SMEs, to business people, to entrepreneurs, to start working with this circular economy based on your experience? Anyone can start.
Okay, I'll start. Let's follow with the original order. In particular, I think that it's very important, first of all, to analyze which processes can we move forward with using this vision, what things can we do to go the extra mile with our business, with our company, and also once we have set this target, this goal, we're going to have several obstacles. We're going to have a lot of resistance. We are here at a breaking point, and many people are just starting to see this. Many people oppose this, but companies that have a long history, because maybe we are young, but the companies have large structures of people having many years inside the company, and they have a lot of resistance. Say, but if we are doing it already like this, why would we change? This is kind of difficult. We're having lots of problems. So we need to think about that. So that's where we need to be more firm than ever, and we need to fight, this cultural fight, this social fight, and we need to set the way and be convinced that this is the way to go, and showing that another way of doing things is possible, and never giving up until, because when we see this road, we follow this road, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and when you reach the light at the end of the tunnel, when you turn around, the whole team has what is behind you, pushing you into this new place. Sergio, think. Yes, we've seen the problem, social problem. I saw that. I think that we need to look at it from the business people point of view. When with our products, we need to try to be part and aim at solving the problems from this circular economy side. So we need to be able to analyze everything from this perspective and adapt it to the products that we are taking to the market. Okay, Lucas, to close. Okay, maybe I want to tell you how we did it. Trial and error, attempting. This is what we call a praxis. We try, we attempt, we think again, then we try again very quickly. We exhibit what we do, and we try again. And try to go in with a purpose, try to understand the problem, and try to understand which is the problem, and knowing that we can solve it. Because this world, this amazing world that we live in, we have plenty of human problems that we can solve and that we had to solve. But in order to solve them, we need to start. It's great to build an idea, we need to put it in practice right now, immediately. And you'll see that this idea changes and you start evolving. And you need to understand the complexity, and trying to understand that we need to also remember that we have the citizenship, we have the citizens, and we do not need to only apply solutions that are interesting or good for us from our business point of view, but we need to understand that we need to provide, we need to contribute to this complexity that is the economy, that is the engine of the world. But this is not simple. This is not just economic, but it's also social and environmental. Juan, Sergio, Lucas, thank you very much to all three of you. Congratulations for the job you're doing. And we also like to thank Gabriel, who to David, who is connected from the south. Thank you for your testimony, and thank you for. We continue with the World Summit of Circular Economy. Thank you. We'll continue today with circular construction after the first guests with moderator Diego Tabachnik. And now we have another set of protagonists. We have Leonardo Cano, the founder of Madera Plástica, plastic wood, and the Germán Rodriguez, who is the founder of Casartero, together with Virna Lavarino, which is also a co-founder of Eco Posada Casartero, and Zenon Santiago, senior partner at Easy Break. How are you all? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Let's start talking with each and every one of you. Let's start going with taking a look at some of the projects. Let's start with Leonardo Cano with Madera Plástica. We have a video from Leonardo and we'll start. I am a co-founder of Madera Plástica Mendoza. From 2018, we have been transforming the plastic into posts for the grape plantations and preventing the contamination of the environment. We're working with the Junín Punto Limpio, Clean Point Junín in Mendoza, and we're also collaborating with the different activities in different foundations. We are a threefold impact company, and we're part of the circular economy. The plastic that we use for putting together the plastic wood is the one that we normally take out from our houses, and it is not sorted. It goes straight to a landfill or to be burnt. And we have transformed into one of the few threefold impact companies that provide a solution for this plastic, and from this plastic that we discard from our houses. Okay, that was a great summary, Leonardo, but I think that there's a lot more to know at Madera Plástica. What are we talking about when we talk about Madera Plástica? Madera Plástica is a company that started with an idea of solving two large problems. One of them is the final disposal of plastic waste. The plastic waste have a difficult disposition. Single-use plastic, we have some problems with this. And we started our company, we made it from this idea. And Madera Plástica is actually a translation into Spanish of these different plastic compounds that looks like wood, that is used to recycle plastics and changing and transforming them into a different material we can use again. Okay, the interesting thing in this panel is to hear different proposals. Now we're going to hear a little bit about Casartero, Eco Posada. We have a video and then we'll talk. Germán, Virna, I'm already signing up to go there. Yes, everyone's invited. Casartero is in San Rafael, Mendoza. And thank you for this opportunity here. Casartero is a new concept where we are applying new technologies to the service of the hospitality business with a sustainable idea, and also trying to give the message of the circular economy. So we're using containers, maritime containers that are no longer in use as part of the value of the circular economy, and as a message to our guests. This is the tool that we use to make this concept very graphic, very practical. Okay, let's go over the last project, which is EasyBrick of Zenon's project, and I'm starting to find some common points between the first two, and let's see the third, which will probably be simple and easy. We have a video, and then Zenon is going to tell us a little bit about that. What is EasyBrick? EasyBrick is a brick made from recycled plastic. The idea is simple but innovative. An ecological brick that contributes to sustainable building and is also easy to use. For its manufacture, we use everyday items like packaging, caps, and everything plastic. They are processed and finally made into bricks, generating a circular economy. The finished product has unique characteristics. It has great thermal isolation, great acoustic isolation. They're 100% waterproof, and they're very light, and they are adaptable. They're easy and quick to use. They are self-manageable, and they're ecological. The bricks can be used for any type of walls, and they can be covered with any kind of liners, combining your own style with ecology, building together a sustainable future. Zenon, tell us a little bit. The video explains us a lot, but whatever else that you want to tell us about EasyBrick, you're welcome to do it. Your audio is muted. Okay, here I am. Welcome. So thank you for your invitation. Good day to everyone. And to explain a little bit, it's like a Lego, or like the bricks that we used to use when we were children. It's made of plastic, 100% recycled plastic, and what made us do this is what Leo said. What do we do with the plastics that are discarded after one use? And we started working with recycling. We describe ourselves as a building system and applying different construction methods. And here we are today. So thank you for your invitation. Now we're happy to have you. Now we're going to talk amongst ourselves. The first question that I want to ask all of you is, how do you communicate? Because all of you, in your own way, you work from your place, from the place that you work, small to large. You work in the circular economy, but there's some kind of a link between you. I'll start with Leonardo. I think that the link between all of us is the interest for looking to give a new life to waste, to change them from garbage to resources, and try to manufacture something that doesn't end up in a landfill, and that doesn't turn into a passive for the environment, that ends up giving us a lot of problems. And I think that there's an important link between the social actors, social stakeholders who are working in different meetings when we start working on certain activities with other entrepreneurs that are linked with circular economy, with sustainability. We start looking at, we could work with this person, with this company, and you start getting these synergies where the different companies start working together. And we were listening to things, and I'm listening to Mr. Santiago, to Rafael and Virna, because I have the. We're doing the meeting there, definitely. Yes, we are. So, I think that this is the thing, the kind of thing that starts happening. This link happens when you start getting to know what other people is doing, and you start getting in touch with this. Germán and Virna, do you agree with this? Maybe that if you are looking for the same, there could be concrete points where you can help each other, right? Yes. Hello. Good morning. I agree wholeheartedly because these are ideas. These are companies where you start, and when we join together and we start getting to know other entrepreneurs, and we see how can we work, how can we incorporate these ideas, and I think that this happens to them too. It's one of the tasks that we did is to do research. There are many entrepreneurs, thank God, that are working in sustainability, in the environment, in circular economy. So, in a way, Casa Artero does this step also for these entrepreneurs. Zenon, I wanted to ask you if you also agreed, but of course, if you want to talk, yes, I believe that this concept is also going to identify all of us. We all want to look for a solution, but we know that we need to be part of this change, and so I don't think that we need to just remain with waiting for a solution. So we start being transformers of and trying to look for new changes and going into this concept of the circular economy. And Zenona was going to ask him if he is going to join us at the Eco Posada, but also I wanted to ask you something else, which is, are you always this optimistic when you're looking to go into the circular economy, or are there problems when you say this is too difficult and you want to give up? Well, let me answer with two questions. When I was looking at these two videos, I was thinking, okay, I can ask Leo about some building issues, and Germán and Virna, I wanted to ask them, how do you communicate the sustainability to promote your business from the point of view of the sustainability, the circular economy? So with these things that you were telling us, that these are bridges that are connecting us, and at the same time, you're always an optimist, because if you're not, it's very hard. So, but there are times, of course, when you start thinking, where do we go now? What do you do? How do you do it? And you start looking at bridges or synergies that you can get with when you start doing partnerships with people who may not have the same product, the same business, but they have the same purpose. And this is what builds this optimism. If you had to choose or enumerate or list at least two things that you would improve, that you would accelerate, that you would try to make easier, maybe because now we are going towards the sustainability, or we're trying to be more sustainable, but you're already thinking about this. If you could say, for example, okay, with these two things I can move forward really quick. I'll go from 0 to 100 with these two things. I'll start with Leo. Be careful with what you choose. Be careful. But I think that the first thing that I want to say is we need to create collective awareness. And because this is tied a little bit with what you said, we're very optimistic. We're naturally optimistic, but right now it would be very difficult to see the way forward without seeing change. So, but this is why we need to be optimistic. And so the first thing is this idea of this awareness, this collective awareness, which is very necessary. And second, I think that it's impossible that this works without the joint work between the public sector and the private sector. These two areas are complementary, and we always thought of this way, because this is what is going to accelerate. If there's no cooperation with the community and from public and private partnerships, then that's going to be a big issue. But when that happens, it's going to accelerate a lot. Virna and Germán, what would you add to this list? Yes, like Leo said, I think that it's important to create awareness. As Zenon said, you start once you hear another entrepreneur, you already start thinking about how can we use this, where can we put this, how can we include this. We identify a lot with other entrepreneurs, so I think that it's like we need to be aware, and we need to have awareness, and we need to have cooperation between the public and the private sector, which makes the second point, which is communication, very difficult. We may have great marketing campaigns, we may have great videos, but if the people does not get the awareness, or if the public and the private sectors do not cooperate, we're not going to be able to communicate. For any budget, any legislation, you can ask for whatever you want. What else would you like to add, Zenon? I was thinking about the same thing. To go from 0 to 100, what we think is to make these concepts massive and ubiquitous. So when we started, circular economy, sustainability, these were not words that we would hear a lot. And now we are participating in a World Summit, so there's a different agenda now. The public sector is becoming more aware. The public is more aware of this. We need to make this something that is ubiquitous. So if we had to ask for a particular thing, legislation, I would ask that in the educational curriculums, there should be a circular economy subject or course that everyone can learn about this. And let's talk now about your history and the road that you've taken here. And if you had to be your own mentors, what would you change in your road here? And looking back and say, okay, here we missed, and this decision was right. A little bit of a summary of something that you could tell to people who are starting. Maybe can you say something about that, Leonardo? Okay, I think that we did things that were very correct. We had some hits. We were clear in our goals. What I would change is that if we had validated before some of these ideas, we have an idea where we had a time where we were developing the ideas without telling anyone what we were doing, and then we realized that to validate the idea, to put it into practice, is good. This thing about keeping your idea on the inside, not talking about it because I'm scared that they're going to steal my idea, and this only slows down the concretion, the completion of the ideas. So you could start discovering it if it works very fast, or changing it. So that's what I would think. What I would change. This is something that we knew very clearly which problems we were attacking, and how we created a value chain to recover the materials that we needed. And our greatest achievement was creating a recovery chain of plastic waste, which is beautiful, from urban retrievers and from also household recycling. So this chain, I think that this is the best thing that we have as a company. And this is what I would change to validate our ideas more quickly. And it's interesting because you're talking about companies that work towards or in order to improve the circular economy, but here there's no competition. There's like a complicit reaction. The more you start talking more, and if you go there, you tell them, no, that's not the right way to go. You could go this way. And you start talking amongst yourself. And Virna and Germán, what would you do? Well, actually, if I look back, I don't know if I would change anything. I don't know if we would change anything, because on the road, along the way, we learned a lot. We trained a lot before, before the project, before Casartero, in materializing the project. And this was a great point. We were pointing at tourism and sustainable tourism, and maybe we need more training because we're avid, we're very restless, and we learned on our own. We're self-learners, so you start learning on the go, and you continue to learn, and by contacting each other and knowing that there are more peers, and this idea of keeping to yourself, we might have shared this idea, but now we need to tell our idea, because we hope that people copy from us. They copy our model from Casartero, like the models of the companies of the rest of the presenters, and that we hope that this is a trained copy, that they continue to add to increase the sustainability, that this is not a fad, because we need to do a lot of we need to focus a lot on not being just a fad. We need to have this here to stay. And Zenon, what would you say? What were your strong points? How do you add to the synergy of everyone? Yeah, definitely. When we asked, when I didn't know what to ask you, and then when I heard Leo with this validating things to learn earlier, I thought that was amazing. And I think that this was a little bit hard for us. The thing about validating was amazing. I think that this is like like Millie said, we are accomplices. We are partners, and I think that if I were to change anything, I would say yes, learn and be refuted, and sharing and keep improving. And if I have to validate something, if we did something right here, what we did right was that we are also plastic pipes manufacturers. We've been working with this for many years, and we support each other. We lean on our suppliers in the technology that we knew. And I think that was a hit. That was something that we did right. And I leverage suppliers that know about plastic, and I work with plastic. So there was a linking point between what we were starting to do and what we wanted to do. And I guess that you're spoiling my question, because I wanted to add to what Virna said about learning. Where do you learn? Because I want to start. Where do I start? Can you help me have a guidance, some sort of a guidance? Where did you learn? Where did you study? Can we study this in Argentina? Did you do some courses overseas? Did you only talk with people who produce, who worked? I'll start with you, Zenon.
Where can we learn? Or where did you learn, at least? Everywhere, I think. I would say that if we have to define circular economy, I don't know whether it is only one way that suits for everyone. I think it's a path you need to take. There is no standard either. Everything is useful, everything is valuable. You can start learning, and this will be very valuable as well. So, of course, we have a lot of courses and trainings of different stages. We have a lot of courses here in Argentina. We have a lot abroad. At university and in the industries, in entrepreneurships such as the ones that we have, we can learn a lot. I think that we need to adapt to each reality. And Leonardo, where did you learn, or what would you recommend? We had a learning curve that was very complicated. The three partners, our business partners, I come from the psychology part, but from the commercial part, we did not have any idea about recycling and plastic wood. At the beginning, we started doing a lot of research through the internet, We did research on university, doctoral presentations and theses. A lot of information was there on plastic wood, but you need to be able to know how to look for that. We did not know how to manufacture this product. So this was the first step, doing research and training. There is a lot of information on the internet, but there is some technical aspect, and we started learning from some reference of the industry, and they provided a lot of information. We had a lot of trial and error, and then we validated the processes, and we took it to an engineer for see the material, or a person who was in charge of the plastic industry to see the process as well. And once we had the product and we could see our path, we started taking some formal training with all of the mentors that we could in all of the trainings that we found on recycling or waste management. And we needed to look for sustainable waste. There is some business management area, so how can we have this project to be sustainable economically as well? So everything is important, and you have to consider that, otherwise the company would finish with the cycle. So we started to have a lot of trainings. The journey is not easy, as Zenon mentioned. There's no one single perspective. If you do this, you will succeed. You will be able to come up with your own company. I believe that we need to support circular economy. And being within circular economy demands us to understand that what we do and we produce as waste, we need to try to reinsert that into the cycle. And as an individual, I want to participate in the circular economy. We need to be willing to participate. And once we have this behavior, it is very difficult to change. If we say, okay, I will not throw this away anymore, that behavior continues. So you're a psychologist, so we can talk about that. The emotional behavior, when something happens within your body, when you cannot throw the plastic away as you did before. Yes, so this is why what Zenon mentioned about education is so important. Education is very important. What we teach our children now will produce significant changes in the future. So this is our goal. Having formal education from kindergarten, for example, and we have to teach them that throwing garbage away produces a consequence, and we need to teach them what we can do or how to recycle, and not to throw away waste. So to finish, there is no one single path. I believe that each of us has to learn in their own way, but now we have a lot of tools on the internet. We have a lot of startups and companies who are willing to help us, or in the big companies who are already within the sustainability path. We always have some consultations, and we are always willing to help them. So this is my perspective from experience. Okay, Virna and Germán, you that are so avid with information, where did you study? What do you recommend? Yes, as I said before, we took a lot of trainings and courses on sustainability, on marketing as well, on architecture, sustainable architecture, before having Ecoposada Casa Artero. And we are training constantly on sustainability. There are a lot of opportunities for us to learn. Yes, I wanted to add that we need to highlight that there are not a lot of touristic areas that are certified under sustainable management. We always say that working under sustainable management or being sustainable is not only having a solar water heater, but also having or taking into consideration a lot of other factors that maybe the guest does not see. For example, the consumption of the resources, the use of energy, and a lot of aspects, the waste management, for example, and that will be our internal management, and they do not see it. And we are convinced that in the tourism industry, we have the commitment to educate, to train that responsible tourist on whom we depend. As they say, education at school is very important, and from our activity, we also need to teach or to train that responsible tourist that is the engine for a lot of touristic activities, and we need from them for our activities. We always say that Casartero did not come by chance. It is not only that we used a container for a circular economy message. It is a strategic plan that takes care of the environment. From the beginning, we saw the impact that we would have with the construction, the waste that we would create. This was great. We are in love of this project because it did not create waste. It did not create garbage. If we take it to a more emotional perspective, it has a strong history on circular economy. Each plastic used by the kids come from a history, from the chair or a table or a toy of the children that is turned into a different thing. And with the containers, we have the same thing. These containers have traveled all around the world, have been transported in ships, on trucks, on cranes, for example. And now we can adapt them for a different commercial activity and having the same quality as any hotel. So that will be the message. Learning, training, being in contact with people, having strategies, and understanding our providers and make them understand the importance of sustainability of circular economy. And I believe that little by little, we are adding up more people. Yes, this is very contagious what we're explaining. And also for make people to value everything that we do. In your case, on tourism or bricks or waste management. I want to ask you another question that you all mentioned a little bit, but we did not delve into this. So what is economically sustainable? There's two excuses in a way from the households as regards the time and money. It is very expensive to do some projects, and sometimes that is not value at the time of the sale, for example, or the purchase of the product. So how did you do to achieve that balance? And whether it is economically sustainable. Talking about numbers, let's go with Leonardo. Yes, we are economically sustainable because we developed the product always thinking about two things. First of all, the sustainable perspective. We're going to work with waste, and the producer needs to have a certain benefit. So we developed those posts trying to replace wood. We want to replace wood, and we provide a post that maybe it is more expensive than the wood post, but it would provide 10 times more profitable. And when you do the analysis of the lifespan of what we're seeing, of the entire work that they are going to save, of changing the posts every year that are rotten or that are broken, for example, and the benefit of not having to disassemble all of the structures ends up being more economically. So they'd rather go with the plastic wood instead of the traditional wood. I believe it is essential for companies that have to be sustainable and fall within circular economy to be sustainable both socially, environmentally, and economically sustainable. And mainly economically, or otherwise the company would end up broke or would end up closing, and they have to depend on certain external funds, for example. So we need to have a good selling strategy. We need to really think about the market we're targeting. So it is very important to go with these startups who help you go to the tough parts of the business area. Okay, this idea is great. Now, what are you based on? Which energy do you need? Where are you going to get the plastic from? You need to go through all of those questions to be able to be economically sustainable. Zenon, what happens with bricks? Is it valued, the economic price of the brick, because it is sustainable, environmentally sustainable? What happens in the bricks? Yes, as Leo mentioned, if the product or service does not provide a solution, it will not be economically viable. If you are not economically viable, you will not last. In the case of bricks, for example, for us the most difficult part when doing the commercial activities, it was very difficult to see the convenience or the money assessment of the waste from constructions and to insert that into the equation as compared to the traditional elements or dry construction. And the challenge is there on how to prove the client that the brick, apart from being sustainable, is a solution, a concrete solution and practical solution, and that it ends up having an economic benefit because it is faster and cleaner. There are no tricks, and at the 3 months after you have to purchase new materials. Everything comes in modules. So we need to have a circular idea or perspective, but we need to have a business perspective for the solution. I have this competitive advantage, and I have a product that is very useful, very concrete. Okay, now let's see what happens with tourism, because that is a service, something we cannot touch. Do people value this and economically support these sustainable projects? Yes. I would divide this into two perspectives. One of them from the tourist side, because we sell services, we sell experiences, and the other I would talk about as a user, because we have been users of two construction systems that are not traditional. From the tourist perspective, as regards the experiences that they have, for them to live, to be within a container or being within the rooms that have a non-traditional construction or structure, and everything that surrounds them is very good, and people accept that. And we go against the myths. We need to do experiments. They need to see also, they need to experiment the food. And we have been the users as well to create this type of systems. In what we could say, the economic perspective, there is not a lot of difference, but we really value something that the partners mentioned. That is something that lasts. You are investing in something and you're not damaging the environment, you're collaborating. And apart from that, we trust on these systems, and we will continue to trust in the systems. If I have to do this again, I will do this again in the same way, and it has no impact, no damage to the environment. I would like to add on what Zenon mentioned. Everyone compares and says, okay, but is it more expensive or not as compared to traditional construction? And that is where we say a traditional construction has everything that Zenon mentioned, some tricks or water problems or consumption of water that is very high for each square meters, we spend 700 liters of water. And if we have water stress, it creates different problems. And to sum up, because I could talk for the entire day, but I believe this is the key aspect. We go against misbeliefs, and we want to get people closer to circular economies, and those who see that as something that is very far away, we can make them see this in our project, and it is very efficient. We make them have an experience where they can have a different perspective towards bricks, plastic wood, or any other type of system that they know. We have very short minutes. An answer of 1 minute by each of you. It will be related to the myths and to invite people to be motivated, because sometimes they do not trust the unknown. The unknown does not have a lot of friends, and I truly believe that all of us should be friends of circular economy. So 1 minute for each of you to close this panel and to invite people to lose fear to purchase this plastic wood. Leonardo? Well, the myths are falling apart with the use and the time. Manufacturers are trying new ways. They need to see it, they need to touch the new products, and luckily they come back and buy the product again. So those fears are falling behind, and they know that they are purchasing a product that will last for a lot of years. They will not need any more wood. They are more scarce even, and sometimes come from the trimming of native forests that take a lot of time to grow. And from the economic perspective, I think that time will tell that we are right when they start investing in these projects, or in less labor, less wood. And from 2019, we are at Junín Punto Limpio plant, Clean Point Junín, and the same municipalities need to raise awareness in the population, apart from the teaching part that we do as business people. But they need to work on the household sorting of waste, and because they think that the garbage is then taken out to somewhere else, and that is not my problem. And that is a very dangerous myth, because then we realize that the garbage is there, it is buried. And when you start seeing those landfills, open landfills, and we can see all of the garbage, they can say that the plastic and the garbage is still there. It continues to be there. So the garbage does not disappear once it leaves our home. It goes to some area. It does not magically disappear. Okay, Zenon, any myth that you would like to end? We have a minute. Yes, I would like to talk about the myth that the plastic is cheap, that you can discard it, that you use it and then you throw it away. It has multiple uses. It is not bad either. Plastic is not bad. We need to recycle plastic, and it does not mean that the plastic is bad. In fact, it has made us innovate in a lot of areas. So plastic is not bad, but it is non-disposable either, and it is very useful to do very long-lasting products. And we have to be motivated to participate. We need to know, we need to learn. Leo said internet. We also said that there were trainings. If there is a myth, we need to find out more information. Perfect. Virna Germán, let's listen what you have to say. In Casartero, we need to talk about this and invite us to Ecoposada Casartero. What would you like to say? I believe that the myth we need to do away with is that tourism we want to say that tourism can be sustainable, we can change, and we need to be responsible to do and to change. We not only provide a service, but we can break a lot of myths with each of the proposals from Casa Artero that have a lot of strategies and partnerships with SMEs, where we have new opportunities of circular economy for guests to start seeing that some myths need to be eliminated. And as we said, we provide solutions, but we need to be managers of that change. So the tourism industry can do something for this. Thank you very much for your time, for being here, for your patience, for your knowledge, and for the passion on circular economy. Thank you very much. Thank you. And now we continue with different talks and different actors in this circular experience. Circular experiences have moments such as these panels that takes us to different parts of the world and that will show us a universe that for some people were impossible. Let's start with Tom Saki, director of TerraCycle and founder of Loop, and tries to turn into something beautiful the things that are useless for some people. This is a pleasure for me being here with you. Thank you very much for inviting me. There is a lot we can talk about this, your project. I would like to welcome you, and we can listen to you now. Thank you very much for the introduction and for inviting me to this summit on circular economy. This is one of my favorite topics, which is waste. I have dedicated the last 5 years of my life to build this company that today operates in the entire world, trying to think how to go from linear economy to circular one. In the last 22 years, we have operated in the entire world, from Thailand, for example, and we work as a non-profit and a for-profit company. We am going to talk about this platform that comprises Australia, Canada, and some other green countries such as Brazil, who have platforms of recycling, and we have also launched other platforms as well. As we think about waste, I believe that the most important thing to begin with is to understand what makes some action recyclable. If we think about the economy systems of any country, for example in Argentina, there are some things that are going to be recyclable and the others will end up in the dump. And sometimes we think that what makes something recyclable is that it is, and whether it is possible or not to recycle that, and it is not the most important question. The most important question is, can a company, a garbage company, or a collector, can they make money through recycling objects? And if they can make money out of this, collecting a recycling object, it will not be recyclable. And that is the question that you can see here on the slide, is what defines whether something is recyclable or not. For example, a can, for example, for a drink. It doesn't cost a lot of money to process and to collect, and the value of aluminum is very good, and it is very valued in some parts of the world. But something that costs a lot to collect and process. For example, a diaper costs more as compared to the result of the value once it is recycled. And if we think about how this equation of the past 10 years, it has been generally negative. Negative for a number of reasons. First, in 2018, China stopped the importation of waste, and that was then followed by many other countries that used to be importing waste, like India, Thailand, and others. So people who recycled in Buenos Aires or Sao Paulo or Toronto, you lost 40% of the markets, the final markets. In addition, the quality of waste is going down as it pertains to how profitable it is, and packaging becomes lighter and it is more complicated to process, and of course there is less value of the materials because they are lighter. So in the blue line we can see that as packages go lighter, they are less recyclable. And finally, oil prices in the orange color went down in 2015 and have never recovered. And this also creates a lowering of the value, which makes recycling very much harder. So in most countries, recycling has moved from being profitable to being a cost. And this is really important to think about as we look at how we move from a linear system, a system where we extract and make a product, we create a product, and then we throw that away. Now, the first step into moving from a circular economy is that we end up a problem that is not considered as waste, but we can recover that and recycle that. And some products are recyclable in a country because it is profitable to do that, and some products are not recyclable because it is not profitable to recycle them. So the equation, if you make something that is not recyclable and you make it recyclable, it looks this way. Some companies, some actors have to pay for the cost of collecting the waste and processing it, minus the value of the selling value. And if that cost is covered, anything can be recyclable. So we need to drive more value, and to get more value than cost, more return on investment than cost. And over 20 years, we have retrieved cigarette butts, for example, in 400 cities of the world. Here we can see in Vancouver, for example, we have been able to escalate this and recycle cosmetics, collecting and recycling cosmetics for all of the brands, or contact lens recycling, all the way to car seats recycling, even diaper recycling in Japan, for example, and France, in the Netherlands. Recycling systems tend to start small, such as this, as we can see in Australia, but they can become bigger and bigger and become a huge company. This is a recycling company, big kiosks in Australia collecting all type of materials to be recycled. Even in the UK, there are mega systems for recycling, from hangers to packagings of chips. How do we share this? If we see the Olympics in Tokyo, when we saw the athletes and they are standing there on the podium, we can see a lot of waste being recycled. And we can see all of these products that then P&G will sell in the retailers. It is not always possible to do profitable things on a non-profit perspective, so we created TerraCycled, and in Thailand, and we saw that 1 million kilos of plastic on the rivers end up in the oceans, and we wanted to change that. And this is where the circular economy begins, where we start creating recycling solutions. The next step is helping companies to construct, and now we can see that we have reached this circle, that we completed that circle to reduce the need of having raw materials. Now, the big learning in companies and using recycled content is that they appear to be using the same things. What I mean by this is that when we use materials such as PET bottles, for example, what we see in the soda bottles, or when we do a shampoo bottle or a piece of furniture, companies are always using the same materials, regardless of the final product.
So, what we're thinking about was to how can we bring these solutions to the most polluted areas, like the oceans or the cities or the that are farther away, which are covered in waste and in garbage and that look like this. And to configure a supply chain in which we collect all of the waste from the beaches and we turn it into new materials to create a product like this. We need to really tell the story of where this product comes from. To have because consumers who know this story, they're going to join and they're going to use products like these. Because these are products that instead of products that are made with virgin materials, and through this method we are cleaning of the summit of Mount Everest, of oxygen tanks. We are using machines below the mountain. We sell products with materials that have been recycled from the mountain, and this leads to a circular economy based in recycling. But this is not enough. We need to go to an economy based on reuse, which is this makes the process smaller and better for the environment. That need created led the way for us to create our company, Loop, in the spirit of solving this pollution issue. Because all of the pollution that we cause, not only by the plastic, but also by using things just once. And Loop came into existence in 2017, and we had the privilege not only to lead, but also to have people like Procter & Gamble and Pepsi who started working with us. And what we found was what needs to be reusable. This is a global platform where any manufacturer can create reusable products and any retailer can make them available to their consumers. And this is something that is easy, convenient, and affordable. And the key question here that we need to ask ourselves, and I think that this is a Loop question, is how we solve the unintended consequences of these things that can be disposable without diminishing the quality of the products and maintaining its virtues, and keeping this affordable and convenient. And what's so interesting is that this is what the world used to be like before in Argentina and the rest of the world. The products were made to be durable and reusable, and at that time the packaging was an asset of the company that they would buy through a deposit, and they were financially motivated to make it last in the long term, of course. And what happened is that in the 50s they started working with this the making the products waste, so the non-returnable or non-reusable started to be the most convenient, and it was a larger problem. And And the question is if there's a single disposable package where the content is as important as the packaging. So I imagine the answer is no, and if the answer is no, then that creates a problem because the packaging is a cost for the manufacturer. And what's the goal of any cost? It's to reduce it, right? And as packaging is causing this cost reduction, not because they are less recyclable, but actually they become less exciting for the consumer in time. But if we're going to solve this issue that we mentioned before, and to try to obtain the best in trying to get the best of both worlds, we need to look at the history of packaging. Move back to how it used to be before: durable, reusable, and safe or insurable through a deposit. And this turned into the financial base of Loop. We moved from packages that were used just once, and this is included in the price of the product, and we changed it to a product that is reusable, so that people pay for this package, the cost of the packaging and the cost of cleaning in the final price. So we have launched in Loop 150 products with Nestle, with Procter & Gamble, and they have been through this system. This 150 companies have already developed over 100 unique and singular products, and all of the world's biggest brands nowadays are using reusable packaging. As I show you these photos, one of them, you will see that the containers are not just from the largest brands in the world like Mondelez or Nestle or Kraft Foods, Kraft Heinz or Evian, but also maybe they may be even prettier, and this reminds us to the way that it used to be, the packaging used to be before. This is the key. What we have discovered through Loop is that packaging can not only be reused and be friendly for the environment from the waste point of view and from the climate change point of view and carbon emissions, but it can also be significantly more innovative, and it just increases the aesthetic appearance, and there are functional improvements, and it turns out that these things are more important for the environment for the companies than sustainability. For example, this is Pantene. Today, this is the packaging in Loop, with Loop, and this is what it's going to look like next year. These are the same Pantene packaging for next year. And this is Rank Clean. This is the way that it looks now. The totally recyclable material. This is going to look like Ren next year or in the future. So with Loop as a platform, the Loop has this platform where we have to do two things to make this go into effect. First, we have to work with companies and be able to reproduce these types of products like the ones that we just saw. And then, even more important, we need to work with retailers for them to be available for consumers. And that looks today more or less like this. This is Carrefour in France, live in France, with our packaging. From the point of view of the consumer, this looks like just a normal retail environment. You can simply buy the package, and you can pay, you can leave. There's no cleaning, there's no filling that they need to do as consumers. But on every package, when they buy it, they pay for the content, and they make a deposit for the physical package, the container that they are taking away. which they one day return, and when they come and do so, they get back that deposit in full, regardless of the shape of the container, even if it's broken. And we have seen some incredible lessons that we've learned. First, the consumer loves this proposition for three reasons. They are not always intuitive, but these reasons are not always intuitive. The first reason is that the consumer likes it because it's environmentally friendly. That's an obvious part. It's sustainable. But they like it also because the packaging looks prettier in design, and it has higher quality materials. And then they like it because they believe that if they are not using plastic, the quality of the content is better for them. The food tastes it's safer. We have also noticed that the consumers want even though they want that the price of the content is reasonable, they are not sensitive to the price of the deposit because they know that they're going to get it back. And because of this, they have up to 80% of the packages that return within 60 days of being purchased. So now retailers are escalating all over the world, larger and larger places. Companies like Carrefour and that have larger and larger loop systems. We have launches in Japan, for example, in the largest retail store in Japan. Looks more or less like this. And in a month we're going to launch in Tesco in the UK. It's going to look like this. And Kroger in the US, it's going to look more or less like this. And even Woolworths in Sydney, Australia, is soon going to be something like this. Once you put a package back into the loop, this function operation of loop is trying to make it functional for its reuse. So every country we build a company that more or less looks like this. They divide the packaging, they store it, and through the Ecolab cleaning, in collaboration with Ecolab, we clean them to the highest standards with the latest technology. And what we have learned with this, with reusing, is that the most important question that we need to answer is not will somebody pay me more for eco-friendly products. It's instead, is it convenient? For example, we have this month, we've seen, we're going to launch reusable diapers, and what we have found is that today 85% or 50 to 85% of diapers of parents in the US, UK, France and Germany have tried to use cloth diapers, reusable diapers. So there's a lot of people using them, but after 1 month only 2 to 3% of parents stick. And this is due to the entire reason is the inconvenience. So we have to solve this convenience issue above any other problem. That's the most important problem that we need to solve. So what we're doing now with Loop is trying to solve this by creating a platform where we can return things in any place, and we can buy things in any place and return in any place. So last month we launched Loop in McDonald's in the UK. So where you can buy now beverage in reusable cups. So and more importantly, every McDonald's has a Loop receptacle where you can deposit the cup that you used, no matter where you purchase it from. So you can buy your package at Tesco and then return it at McDonald's, for example. And if we can solve convenience, then it's magical what can happen with reuse. Not only will the packages become more and more beautiful, significantly more beautiful. In Japan, for example, the coffee, spices come in these types of containers, but they can go even further, because they can go, for example, in Hinamoto is implementing humidity and temperature sensors in packaging to know how fresh is the food on the inside. And that's the future of what can occur. We're getting closer to this future of the reuse models in packaging. But the only way that we can bring this to reality is by solving this large challenge of convenience. If we're lucky, that's going to lead us to give us an idea of how we're trying to eliminate the idea of waste. Thank you very much for your attention.
Do you think that the recycling is an emotional habit? I think recycling is the first step to take when we look at our turning the system. We need to reduce, reuse, and recycle. This is our first step that we want to take when we are interested about the environment. And it's a very important step, because after that we may think about living a more humble life. We may think about smaller houses, traveling less, or we can even think about not eating animals. These are very important steps, and they all start with recycling. And we need to have recycling as an idea, as a simple idea, and we have to learn it to be more sustainable. What is your expectation about recycling in the poorest countries, with a moment where other things are important? Is that possible? Yes, absolutely. One of the challenges is that recycling and sustainability must go together. We need to think on the long term, because there are some countries that can pay for infrastructure to have a good capacity of recycling. And now there are some other countries, emerging countries, where we have a very singular phenomena that is garbage collectors that pick up the waste and then sell that to companies that pay for that. For example, in Argentina, they sell tin cans and sell it. And we need to think about sustainability overall, not only on recycling. We need to think about how a country can invest on being more sustainable. And the question we're going to be asking ourselves is, how do we prioritize the investment on sustainability? Because as climate change continues, and we see the report of the United Nations a few days ago of a problem that is increasing, and we have to see investment on sustainability that will be turned into something that it will be essential. Not only making those investments nationally important, but we also have to think about these investments in a more global area in which the richest countries can invest in emerging markets and help them improve that path to become more sustainable. Thank you for your exciting conference. I hope now you can visit us here in Argentina, so thank you very much. Thank you, and have a wonderful day and summit. It was great being here with you. Thank you for inviting me. Now we continue with the World Summit on Circular Economy from Córdoba, Argentina, in this case with the panel on the agricultural sector, on circular economy and sustainability, which are concepts incorporated in the agricultural system to have a more environmentally friendly solution. We have exceptional guests that are going to share their experiences. I'm going to introduce them very quickly, and then I will give them the floor to tell their experiences. We have engineer Felipe Majol from Food for the Future. We have Pipo Reiser from Simba. We have engineer Alejandro Inostroza from Artisan Roast Chile. Engineer Nabor Carrillo, partner of Green Style, also Chile. And engineer Aguilar Benitez, president of Las Chilcas. They are going to be sharing their experiences. I will give the floor to Felipe Majol. First of all, welcome Felipe, how are you? We're going to see the video first that you sent, and then we will give you the floor. We are on a climate emergency on the planet. Our natural resources are overexploited. The high emissions of CO2 and food waste. We are wasting more than 1,000 million tons of food, and we need to increase our production of food as never before. And we cannot continue to do that at the expense of the environment. We cannot trim forests and the Amazonas and taking up a fish from the ocean. We need a future that is sustainable for our children. We apply a solution from the nature, and specifically with flies. These flies are the most efficient organism to transform organic waste into food, closing the cycle in a natural way. With 1 kilo of eggs that we produce, we treat 25 kilos of organic waste, and we transform to 5 tons of larvae alive and fertilize 15 tons of fertilizers. This is what they create in 1 week, 1,000 families. What do we do with these larvae? We transform them in proteins and 400 kilos of oil, which is food for fish and for birds. We want to be a sustainable company, and for over 5 years we had a group of agriculture, waste management, and we had one mission in mind that is even more important nowadays: to have food. And we developed technology to process the black soldier fly, transforming waste into food that can be a replacement for conservative ingredients that have been used. We want to be an example of circular economy of the food chain. We have a recycling plant, producer of the most sustainable proteins in the world, an alternative that is exceptional to food, and we can reduce the amount of antibiotics. And we have a line for exotic animals, and we're going to launch premium food for dogs. We have an amazing team of 20 people with different trainings and experiences. At F4F, we see each other in the future, not getting rid of nature, but using its wisdom and the power of insects to transform that into a sustainable solution for the food of the future. We invite you to be part of this solution. What we saw before was amazing. Felipe, can you tell us a little bit more about the black soldier fly? Yes, for us it has been a great journey and a very dynamic journey. We have learned a lot. We have been learning about this biotechnology together with the industry at a national level, at a world level. This is a new industry, so we are learning every day, every week. We discover new things as regards the processes and different applications we may have from the products derived from the black soldier fly larvae. We could say that we study the larvae. We when we think about a fly, we think of a contamination vector or infections. In this case, this is not like that. The black soldier fly does not behave as a fly once it is transformed into a fly, let's say. It only breeds, and after the eggs, the fly dies. So we do not need to feed it or go to look for different food and transmit any, or to spread any disease or infection. What we do we need to incorporate what the nature does. The technology is within the nature. The black soldier fly is the most efficient organism we have on the nature to transform waste into food. And what we do is to have them within this process. And how are you within the community? What has been the response of the audience? Where do you get the elements from? The elements that the larvae use or consume. We offer a solution. We are an alternative of organic waste management in the south center area of Chile, Tanca. This is a region where the agro-industrial activity is very intense, so there's a lot of industrial waste from different plants, and they end up in composting plants or landfills where they are decomposed and they emit a lot of gases that are harmful for the ozone layer. We offer an alternative of throwing the organic waste in our plants, and instead of being decomposed and transformed into greenhouse gases, we can incorporate that back to the economy as a high-quality protein. That protein is replacing soy flour or fish flour that are also harmful for the environment. So circularity of the process is very important, and it starts from stopping the greenhouse gas emissions and also offering protein alternatives that do not depend on limited resources. Which are the scale perspectives? Can you grow? How much can you grow as a company? We started 7 years ago growing these flies in a home. Of course, when we had visitors, that was not very convenient, and very few people wanted to come back to our house as visitors. But then we had a pilot plant or station in Chile, and we are also doing some pilots as regards food. And for 1 year, we have the plant in Tanca. We are closer to the organic waste that is created. Our plant today is producing 7 to 10 tons a month. And we need to have 100 tons per month, so we need to scale up to be more competitive in the industry, to handle large volumes. Perfect, Felipe. We will go back to you in a minute. Now, let's go with Pipo Reiser, founder, director of partnerships, and co-founder of Simba. We will see the video, and then we will give you the floor. Do you imagine a world without garbage, where we can take advantage of everything, there is no waste, and everyone collaborates? It seems difficult, but we can do this. And I want to be part of that change. The world is living a garbage crisis. Only in Lima we produce 10,000 of tons of waste a day. These are 1,000 trucks full every day. And did you know that more than half of them are organic waste? You have to think about it. Organic waste, what are they? They are food mainly. Unfortunately, today in Lima we only recycle 4% of our waste. And what we do not recycle has a great negative impact on the planet, contaminating soils, oceans, and the air. But if we sort waste, we could take advantage of 80% of what we produce and significantly reduce all of that waste. This is what Simba is about. Simba comes from the Argentinian words sin basura, without waste. So we started with industries such as supermarkets or restaurants. We train employees to sort the waste, and then we take the organic waste to a treatment plant, and then the other type of waste is taken to different facilities. We turn organic waste to organic products. We distribute these products that are food for companies to have more sustainable opportunities. This goes back to the cycle. This is the circular economy in action, and leaded by the food industry of Peru. We can recover 36 tons. We collaborate with a lot of companies that are having good practices, but we have to continue. We're launching this campaign through the platform of crowdfunding, and we want to improve our production line on the bio industry to process more materials in less time. This will allow us to recover over 8,000 tons of waste and to work with over 50 producers. We need your support. Let's move towards a world without garbage, without waste, and no one is left behind. People, would you like to tell us a bit more about Simba? Yes, gladly I can continue. I loved what Felipe mentioned, and it is very interesting because I feel that we have, from different points, we have reached to a similar product. We started from the issue of waste and trying to find a solution for all of them, and you started seeing the potential of the technology. In fact, we had different changes. Initially, we wanted to do biofertilizers. We tried composting, and we looked for different techniques, and we ended up realizing that for the context that we live in, Lima, Peru, we need to turn organic waste from the city, mainly of food industries. There are food leftovers. So it was very useful for us turning that into food, because in Lima, the agricultural production of the pigs is near the city, so we could have a circular economy, a more localized one. Because working with biofertilizers implied transferring that to the fields that are not close to Lima. So if we understood that context, we had this idea of turning this type of producing this type of food, and we learned a lot from the informal sector of Lima. There's a type of recycler that is called that works with pigs and recycles informally from food industries. The problem is that these food industries do not sort the waste, and then the pig farms need to see how they sort it out and make it work. And 75% of people who do this activity are women, and this also led to a social vulnerability of these women, apart from the environmental problems. So this motivated us to understand that it was a very big problem and a complex problem, and there were no solutions, at least in Peru. When in the world we have seen there were a lot of developments, such as the one introduced by Felipe, or biogas, or some of the others that we saw. So we saw this potential, and we could see the potential as well from the waste generators. We started working with the food industry, trying to be a part of a change history. In Peru, food industry has a cultural point. They are the reference point. Everyone who has come to Peru, they started asking whether they had tried ceviche, pisco sour, or different traditional food. So this is a part of our narrative, and we need to have this change led by the food industry, and this is why we intended to do, because we need to have a social change on how we understand the idea of waste. This idea that waste are garbage, so we try to live the world without garbage, sin basura, which is no garbage in Spanish, and understand that waste is raw material, and if we can recover that, they can become raw material again. So we try to create a value proposition. We provide a service of management and waste collection of organic waste, and also inorganic waste in collaboration with collectors to provide a solution to the 80 to 90% of waste, of municipal waste, created by companies and houses. And this is what we are developing, and we turn those organic waste into food for animals, and we distribute this to these small agricultural facilities in Lima, and we help them improve their production, productivity, their standards, for them to be part of circular economy, which is and so that it can become a formal economy as well. We are working on this, and we are glad to share our experiences. I understand people that the pigs that consume this type of food have a better quality in the flavor of the meat. You do not need a lot of antibiotics. They are less prone to different diseases. Do you have that information as well? Are you working with that as well? Yes, of course. The food is 70% or more of the cost of taking care of animals and pigs specifically, because they eat a lot. So the type of food that they give them is key. You cannot have a pig and with very bad food or bad quality food. But we need to say that food is not everything. There are some other standards, such as handling of the animals, the structure, the space, and some others that contribute to general well-being of the animal, and that translates into a better flavor of the meat and better health for the animal. We come to these pig farms, and one of the things that we found out was that mortality of animals that they have in these spaces, informally handled, is in 40 to 50% rate. So you cannot have a profitable business when you have a mortality of that rate, as compared to a technified field that can have 2 to 3% of mortality rate. So all of those factors are important. We are working on that, and we try to improve in every aspect the production and the quality of life, the profitability of these farms, to be able to prosper, because we found out that it takes decades, and they do not go out of poverty because they are within this vicious circle of informality. Thank you very much, people. Now we give the floor to Alejandro Nostroza, CEO of Artisan Roast Chile, and we will also see a video, and then we will give him the floor.
Yes, we are a circular coffee because we close the circle in coffee. We are toasters of coffee, and we collect the residue and the coffee grounds, and we use it to create products like soap, like bags, and biodiesel. And then we close the circle in the nature. When we created this circular coffee, we thought of the idea of having sustainability to be as common as a coffee cup. So our idea was to use the grounds and the residue and the waste to create impact and to replace the petroleum and its derivatives. The coffee is the beverage that is most used after the water. So we believe that this was the only way that we could go with sustainability into the minds of every people in the country. We want this impact and we want to do it through coffee. Alejandro, I'll invite you a cup of coffee and I want you to tell us a little bit about this process that you said, the beverage that's most consumed around the world after water. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. When we created our company, we decided to not just create a coffee company, but rather a circular company. That was the initial idea. And the first thing was we wondered how to apply the circular economy in what we were studying and how we could go ahead with it and make it more visible in order to make the people to think of different production models. And the second decision that we made was the coffee, because we definitely realized the impact in the production chain, and we knew that it's we tried to make something possible for people who drink coffee or have other types of products. But we wanted to look at other types of models of production that were more friendly with the environment, and we thought it was a good way to go. And the idea was to make sustainability as an everyday matter, as much as an everyday matter as a cup of coffee. So we wanted to create this circular coffee, and we wanted them to see a logo of circular coffee when they're at a bar or when they are drinking a cup of coffee at home, and try to evaluate how they act to make this a sustainable model. And in concrete, what we do is collect the grounds, the coffee grounds. We try to collect as many coffee grounds after the clients consume it, and we use that to create products that are intended to make the model more visible. And we are, for example, growing mushrooms on the coffee. We did this in Europe before, and then when we got to Chile, we realized that there was not enough of a market for mushrooms, so we went to exfoliating soap, which worked. And then we started working on R&D, and we started developing biodiesel, and now we're working with biomaterials like some sort of leather, type of leather, with coffee grounds. We're also manufacturing some prototype glasses and cups for. And this is what we are doing. We're doing R&D, working with products that we can put back into the market with the coffee grounds. Alejandro, I am surprised by two things. First of all, the biodiesel. Can you tell us a little bit about how you get from the coffee grounds to biodiesel? This is something that we do in the lab, in a distillery, and in general you can do biodiesel with any material, any organic material. The protocols have already been developed. That's not complex. The complexity is not there. The complexity is in the scalability of the model and the competition with oil. The diesel that we create here in the lab is mixed with normal diesel. It can work perfectly in engines, but I don't see the future of this in commercial terms in the short term, due to the scale of the investment necessary to use the biodiesel from this waste, in this case the coffee grounds, and the other competition, that is the traditional fossil fuels. This is a very difficult market to get into, to put in a new fuel that replaces the current fuel. So we have the studies, the manufacturer is there, we were able to get this, and I don't think that we can see how we can improve in the short term. And the other thing that I was surprised about was this cup that you showed, which was one of the problems that this industry has, the number of disposables or single-use plastics that you use. And I see that this closes the cycle with the origin of the same product that you're consuming. Yes, this is what I'm telling you. After everything that we did here in Chile, with the government, we started studying everything that we could do with the coffee grounds, and we decided to go with the biomaterials thing. These cups are working great, and they're working, we're doing it with organic components, especially from algae, and we are trying to manufacture machines that are larger, more scalable, because we need to get more production, a larger production. And this is not the end for biomaterials, because this allows us to have other kinds of applications, many other kinds, not just cups. So we are going to look for them, and you're probably going to take them to the market soon. In a second we will get back to you. I'm going to go to Nabor Carrillo. Let's see the video. He's also in Chile. Okay, great images. Now I would like you to put some words into what's this project about. Okay, very kind from you, Diego. It's very nice to be here with Pipo, Alejandro, Felipe, Andres, and you, and everyone who's following this Circular Economy Summit. We have a presentation to show. If you allow me, I will do this presentation. It has a little text, but please let us share the screen. And as we are in a different time in the pandemic, I will ask you again if you can see this well. Yes, we can see perfectly. Great, thank you very much. Our presentation is brief. We don't go over 10 minutes. We will respect the time. These are the agroecological experiences that we've had over the years. We have a very brief agenda. How did the insatisfaction lead us to the circular economy? What are the main breakthroughs in the circular economy, and our final reflection? So how did insatisfaction lead us into circular economy? A few years ago, Sonia and I are parents of Fran, who is here with us, and we are trying to instill the importance of circular economy and of the planet. So a few years ago, right after we married with my wife, we started having lettuces. Each of the lettuces was worth $1, and of each of them, one of them was we consumed it, and the other one went to composting. And there was something that was very strange with this transaction, because the value of the products did not reflect exactly their price. So we started studying. We were inspired by great people, great teachers, and Bill Mollison is very important in this. He is the founding father of permaculture. He has a phrase that is very moving, very inspiring. That is, if any people grew only 10% of what we grow, then there would be no hunger. It would be enough for all. If we have it in gardens or in community areas, and hunger would be it's a very important part of sustainable development. That is something that tells us the United Nations tell us, and this would be very important. And we were also impressed by Stefano Mancuso, who is an Italian teacher, and he has worked a lot with plants in general, and he spoke about a phrase that was incredibly enlightening, that said, if intelligent is the ability of solving problems, plants are capable to answer appropriately the internal and external stimuli. So they are aware of what they are and what surrounds them. So the plants, every day, every being that lives with us gives us incredible lessons on how we create solutions. In the second point of the agenda, we start looking at which are the main breakthroughs of our road in getting to know and putting the circular economy in practice. And we look at the ecology. We looked at it from a summary of what it is like, and we have what is urban orchards and community urban orchards. They inspire us to go into more people, and to realize that every person in their homes can develop solutions. Our story begins in 2009, and Sonia and I started to leave the urban area. We are 7.5 kilometers away from the city of Valdivia. 2009, we bought a piece of land, and we started our life story. In 2010, we suffered the earthquake here in Chile, which was devastating, and we understood that the food issue is key. And everything that was circular economy was very incipient, but we started learning, and we were inspired in 2011. This is the beginning of the story of Fran, who is right here next to me. We received some seed capital from Chile, and we started producing and consuming our own vegetables, and Fran is the fruit of this. Fran has friends that when they get sick, they are out of school for 2 weeks, but Fran is fortunate of, and this is something that we talk, is that she is very healthy, and as we expressed here before, the nourishment is important, extremely important. And my wife and I, we were able to instill in her the education, the nourishment issue. So this is what we had when we bought our land. There was only an apple tree, and today in 2021, that apple tree has plenty of friends, has all kinds of trees. Biodiversity grew exponentially. In the same way, in 2011, our land was completely wild. It was very hard to reach. And here you can see the presence of our greenhouses in 2021 and the larger presence of forest mass. Same thing here in 2011. The land was very difficult to reach for cultivation, and today in 2021, these are very recent images where we see this apple tree farm, peaches, all kinds of trees, and diversity always contributes to having more sustainable. And in 2021, we can see how we've moved forward. You can see 2019, 2020, we bought a particular type of capitals devoted for women, in which my wife participated. Is destined to a greenhouse studio workshop for people to come to our house. We open our doors and we share, and of course due to the pandemic all of this stopped, so we had to build the concept of our business from the ground up. Through different platforms like Zoom or Meet and others. And as for forest development, we planted trees, and until 2021 we have over 200 trees. And this is a very nice, very fun type of work. And Fran also knows about many types of trees. She's helped me plant. We have different cinnamon trees. We have many other trees, and 90% of them are endemic. So this is a very nice activity. And from 2011 to 21, we have worked with a great type of apple crops. They have the yellow apples, red apples. We have the maki berries, and we also have peaches and cranberries. And this has been an incredible experience. From 2011 to 21, we have everything related to vegetables, tomato, cucumbers, and here we have the same thing that what Mancuso said, is that plants are incredibly intelligent. How this cucumber, when we let it up, it creates some sort of a hook around the guiding post. And we have went into the gourmet nourishment with edible flowers, and also with pollinizers. One of the nicest images that we have is that we caught a bee in mid-flight, and this is something that was very nice. From 2013 to 2021, we went into partnerships with very many people. Here we have Sonia, and people have helped us improve our value chain, and our production was not enough. We were not able to satisfy all of the requests, so we went out to look for beautiful women, for amazing women who produce amazing quality products. So we trained them with a course, and we gave them biostimulants, biofertilizers, and with a group of young agronomers in the region. From 2014 to 2020, we opened our workshops to teach people, and we've done these partnerships. We have recorded podcasts. We have done child resources for children. We've been in congresses, we've been in summits. Here we are in this worldwide summit of circular economy. For us, we are a small company, so this is monumental. We've been in events in Chile, in bio events, and so on. And as for our final remarks, this is a quote that I brought out from the Current Times podcast, Tiempos Actuales. The association in community is very important right now. And Sole says that the energy that generates when you're in contact with Mother Earth is magical, something that I can touch, live, and feel as a woman. So for everything, thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here with you. Thank you, Nabor. Where do you take the exceeding, because I imagine that you don't eat 80 kilos of yellow apple, or what you're producing, that you get orders. Where are those orders? Where do those orders come from? Where are those products inserted? Thank you. Yes, at the end of the day, they are not waste, of course. Part of it is taken back to the ground, and those products allow us to generate biofertilizers. And what we do is we donate our products. And we were able to see that in our circular economy allows us to have some more force, and this is also comes from the side of faith. We come from the earth and we go back to the earth, so we believe that the nourishment is one of the food industry is one of the richest areas where we can have the largest contribution, and what we would like as a family is for other families to be self-sustainable. We see it in small places. Here Valdivia has transformed into a great space. We have buildings where the apartments are very small, and barely in 1 square meter we can develop something. So there they can see perfectly well how a seed can grow and transforms into a plant. That plant allows you to create a product, and then how the cycle is closed. Here, even with Fran, we have noticed it, we have lived it when her friends come over here, and we tear down the myth that that vegetables come only from the supermarket. So they see the land, with the work that we do, and we want Fran and her friends to have a better world in the future. Thank you, Fran. Let's move to the final presentation, and we'll go with Andrés Aguilar Benítez, the president of Las Chilcas. Let's see the video and we'll listen to him afterwards. Welcome to Las Chilcas, an agrarian company made of a family with 86 full-time partners in the Cordovis North section. We exploit over 8,400 hectares and 1,800 hectares in animal farming. There's nothing new here, but we have gone further. What do we produce? Bioenergy. And how do we produce? That's the way that we do it, in circular economy. Let us tell you quickly how it works. Our circular economy involves agriculture. All of our crops go to our mini distillery. Here we produce the first type of bioenergy, bioethanol, and the subproducts of this distillery are high in protein and nutrients that go to our feedlot and our pig farm. Here's where we have the second bioenergy, protein for our consumption in meat, and then we have the manure of the animals and other waste go into our biodigester, which produces another type of bioenergy, methane gas, which is used as fuel in the distillery. The leftover liquids with the minerals go back to the land and close in the cycle. Okay, here it goes again, and in detail. Agriculture, mainly corn. This super cereal is a friendly crop for the ground. It's filled with carbohydrates and sugars, and it's optimal for distilling alcohols. It goes straight into the mini distillery, and the entire corn plant goes into the plant, and the result is bioethanol, an added value product that broadens the business horizon of distillation, we get two subproducts, which are high in protein and nutrients, which are led to the next station, the feedlot. The feedlot has a capacity of 14,000 heads of cattle, and this gives us a possibility of creating a diet that is appropriate for the needs and for the different stages of our animals. And the same thing happens in nature. And there we have the pig farm, with over 2,000 pig mothers which are certified with the highest levels of health. And this changes the paradigm of animal yield. Because they say someplace, a well-fed pig never gets fat. Badly fed pig, never gets fat. And then some of the waste, where some see waste, we see opportunities. We go to the biodigester. The manure of all of the animals, plus all of the organic waste, are transformed into methane gas. And we not only prevent it to go to the atmosphere, but it works as a biocombustible for our distillery, which allows us to get a very competitive bioethanol because we eliminate the cost of fuel and transportation. Finally, the leftover fuel returns to the ground to be a fertilizer for a new crop. This is a circular idea, right? In this cycle, we have many benefits for the producer, for the community, and there's a change in the business logic of cereals, going from a raw material producer to a producer of value-added materials, reducing our footprint, creating employment, preventing migration to large cities, optimizing the yield per kilo, and diversifying and creating economic growth. Getting an independence from the centralized energy system, producing self-sufficient bioenergy, and particularly winning for our company, earnings for our company, more ecological. Las Chilcas. More info at laschicassa.com.
Andres, you are from the local area. I'll give you the floor to tell us a bit more about this experience in the north of Córdoba in Las Chilcas. Thank you very much. I would like to thank you for inviting me and say hello to all of our colleagues in this panel, in this summit. We are a family company on a field located in the north of Córdoba, far from the port of Argentina. We have a logistics in Argentina that is relatively poor, so what motivated us to go with this project is to create value added in the source due to this distance to the port. We have a product, we produce a lot of corn and soy, and this is a $750. It takes up 30% of our margin is taken out by the transportation. So we wanted to add value in different business units that consume corn to create food. We have feedlots, the production of vaccination, we have the pig farms. And in 2016, we started with an industry, and we started adding value at the source. And now we started thinking about circular economy, why and how it works. I go directly to the point so as not to waste time. From the main production that we have, that is corn, we create alcohol with an alcohol distillery within the field. And with this distillery, we create alcohol that is energy based on renewable products, clean energy. With that, we reduce 12% of fuel that is being used. The byproducts of this alcohol production are vinasse that is given to the animals, such as pigs, the byproducts of the pigs and of the manure. Those are introduced to a biodigester. With that biodigester, we create biogas, preventing this greenhouse gas 21 times more contaminating than carbon dioxide going to the environment, and we save up on the alcohol production because we do not have to purchase gas to the state, and we produce our own gas. And the byproducts of these biodigesters are water with phosphorus, nitrogenous, and that are very rich, that go back to the hectares to do the irrigation for the crops. So we have a circular economy within the company that fosters itself, where the waste of a business unit is no longer waste, but raw material for another activity. So we create those circles, creating an environmental impact that is very positive. I always say that, yes, it calls my attention because it is a model based on the economy that we have in Argentina, can be replicated in other areas. How do you see the different experiences, the ideas that you have being replicated in some other places? Yes, we are the pioneers of these types of projects because we believe this is the way to move forward, to have make progress in Argentina, and we believe these types of projects are federal projects. The further we are from Rosario and from the port, the more meaning we have to these projects, because our corn starts being cheaper due to a transportation reduction. It is not the same, the transportation from Santa Fe or Marcos Juarez to Rosario than from Jujuy to Rosario. So basically the corn that we have in Jujuy is cheaper. So this project is a federal project that provides a lot of benefit for the communities, not only of doing federal projects, but also taking advantage of the situations that we have here, instead of going to the monopolies without paying so much, and creating jobs in the rural areas, avoiding the exodus to the cities. And this prevents a lot of trucks going to their different roads, 3 trucks of corn and of distillery grains. So in that way, the new thing is that we create clean energy and feed at the same time, driving the circular economy within the company and fostering the other business activities. So we are more efficient as regards the livestock production, because all of my byproducts go within the circle and the cycle, and improving the logistics. So we have some benefits there, but mainly the most important